Welcome. In front of me I have the Samsung Galaxy A56, and today I'll be going over unboxing along with a quick look at the device and also its specifications. So this will be the more budget-friendly version of Samsung lineup for the 2025. I just hope I can peel that off without ripping halfway through. There we go. And let's try this one again. There we go. Now, even though this is the more budget version, this specific A56 is going to be the higher end of the budget, if that makes sense. As Samsung also has the A36 instead of 56. This one is even cheaper, though the price difference between these two isn't that big. The performance will be a little bit more noticeable. So, right off the bat, we are presented with a pretty substantial slab of glass. Let's boot it up. Anytime now, come on, there we go. Here we have some paperwork and let's move that. Here we will have our charging cable along with some paperwork, and that's about it. Come on. There we go. Now the charging cable provided is a Type-C to Type-C, so you're forced to basically buy a charger. Now, starting off with the display, you will see these bit more noticeable bezels compared to the S25 lineup. So here they are thicker, like noticeably thicker, along with having a chin that is even thicker than the rest of it, so they're not even symmetrical. Now it still looks pretty good. Couple things that I will kind of say right here before I go into specifications in terms of the feel of the device, which won't be noticeable from obviously the video as it's more of a feel. The edges right here, this is metal, I think it's aluminum. Yep, aluminum frame. So it does feel more premium in hand, something that is an improvement over the 35 or 36, sorry. As that one will have plastic ones. So yeah, these ones are aluminum, so it feels nicer. They are pretty sharp in terms of just like finish. Not like a harsh sharpness. It's just kind of it's more kind of like iPhone-esque design with the sharp edges everywhere, just as a design kind of point. So that's one thing. It is rounded, so it does sit, I would say, semi-nicely in your hand, though you can feel it, with a protrusion right here for the volume and power button. And there we go. And on the back, we have a glass back with this weird kind of design for the camera right here, probably to just kind of separate it from the S25 lineup. I'll just kind of showcase this quickly. So that's the S25 camera, and that's the A56. Now, talking about the display, that's what we're going to be looking at for the most part anyway. We have a 6.7-inch slab of glass right here, so pretty substantial size. It's a 1080 by 2340 pixel display, Super AMOLED display, 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10 plus certified with a peak brightness of 1900 nits of brightness, along with 87.7% screen to body ratio and a pixel density of 385 pixels per inch, covered with the Corner Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. So that's the display right here, and it's a pretty decent display. It's actually pretty decent phone all in all, to be completely honest, when we consider most of the things for how much it actually costs. Surprisingly enough, this is not a bad product from Samsung. Actually, let me rephrase that. There is no actual bad product, there is bad pricing, and this one seems to be priced relatively okay. It's still a little bit high, but considering you get something like 6 years of software updates, I think. Yep, 6 years of major Android upgrades. It honestly seems like a pretty decent deal. So, continuing on to let's talk about the cameras now. We have a triple camera setup, and the main sensor will be the 50 megapixel f1.8 aperture wide sensor. Then we've got a 12 megapixel ultra wide and 5 megapixel macro. Now with those cameras you can record videos up to 4K at 30 frames, that's the maximum frame rate at 4K, and 1080p will get you up to 60 frames per second. And then at the front we have a hole punch camera for the selfie, and that houses a 12 megapixel f2.2 aperture wide sensor that also does 4K 30 and 1080p at 60. And with that out of the way, we can now move over into the internals. So the device comes with a 5000 mAh battery, so pretty decent battery size, though it is lacking compared to competition. Other phones, much smaller ones, will pack bigger battery than this device does, and that's because Samsung is still using the outdated battery. I guess we can call it outdated. There's a newer silicone carbon, I think, battery, so these ones have a higher capacity while retaining the same kind of physical size. So you can have a bigger battery and or I'll say the same kind of size of the battery that you would have, for instance, in a phone like this, but it would have something like, for instance, 6000 mAh battery. That's why most of the Chinese phones tend to have now about like 6000 milliamps, even some of them reaching like 7500 milliamps, and that's because they are using the newer battery. Samsung, on the other hand side, doesn't do that just because I guess they're scared that the phones will start exploding again. I mean, we already have exploding earbuds from Samsung, exploding Notes. I guess exploding budget phones would also be, you know, right in the alley there. And to be completely honest here, I feel like because the S25 as well is using the old one, if you can't produce a phone that with a new battery without making it explode, maybe you shouldn't be making phones. Just a little thought right there. Maybe you should, I don't know, just subsidize the software, as you're pretty good at that, and meaning the actual software that the devices have. But anyway, let's move over. So another thing here will be the processor, which is Samsung's own Exynos 1580 processor. And in terms of RAM and storage, the base entry model of this device will come with 128 gigabytes of storage and 8 gigabytes of RAM with non-expandable storage. But you can get it all the way up to 256 gigs of storage and 12 gigabytes of RAM. Now, both of those options, meaning the 128 with 8 gigabytes of RAM and the 256, seem to be on a lower side. If you're gonna spec it up all the way and you only get 256, it is on a lower end. For instance, my phone that I have, the S25, comes with a half a terabyte of storage, which is just personally what I like, to have, you know, storage that I don't need to worry about running out of. 256 is for me on that edge where when I start downloading stuff, I will be getting to the like almost maximum capacity of this phone, so 256 for me is just a little bit too little. 128 is just completely unusable for me, so both of these options are like, if I'm going to be spending more, I want more storage. 256 is what most phones come by default with, so this doesn't really seem like a upgrade. If you're gonna, you know, get the higher capacity storage, this just doesn't seem like a higher capacity. It just seems like a default phone that you should have been getting the storage out of the box at the lower end. So keep that in mind, as even though this is a budget device, like I mentioned, it does not have expandable storage for some odd reason. But the storage that comes inside is the UFS 3.1, so it should be fast enough to get you through any kind of like tasks that require speedy storage. And one more thing that I wanted to kind of compare, as this device comes with an Exynos processor, the A36 actually comes with a Snapdragon, though that will be a lower end Snapdragon. Let me just quickly... I don't remember from the top of my head what it was, so I'm gonna do... Oops. So the lower end, the A36, will come with a Snapdragon 6 Gen 3, which is going to be a noticeably slower processor compared to this one. So even though the size of the phones will be the same, the look will be closely the same. Just to kind of show you maybe the box. The design is almost identical. Honestly, you might confuse both of those devices when you're just looking at them, because they do look, like I said, almost identical, but there are just some subtle differences in quality. So like I mentioned, the frame will be plastic, so that's the first thing that you might feel when you're grabbing the phone. Here you have a hard, aluminum body. Here is plastic. So that's the first thing. And the other thing that will be noticeable will be the speed of the device, as this one will be faster in terms of just getting through any kind of mundane task like opening up cameras, switching applications, taking photos, and so on. So this might be just a faster device, and all in all, it's probably one that I would recommend if you're thinking about either one of those, as the price difference isn't super big. It's like less than $100. So when you're paying already, what is it, 500, like this one costs about 500 US dollars. So 500 versus like 400, I don't think it's that big of a difference in this price, and you will get a noticeably faster device. So it might be beneficial to just, splurge a little bit more and get the faster one if you are thinking between either one of these. So anyway, that basically sums up the device. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.